the inspirational life of Saint Francis. And I'm sure we can all take a page out of his book. In fact, I rather enjoy the fact that he was only 21 when he decided to turn his focus towards God at the age of 21. Now, we are going to be bringing you a special tribute to Father Kevin Bar. We'll be joined by two very special guests who give us a real inside look and a very intimate approach to some of the real controversies that happened in a life that we all know has been a celebrated one because of his championing the work for the poor. And he's being a huge social activist. But before that, let's just take a break and enjoy this song, The Canticles of the Sun, which was put together by Saint Francis of Assisi himself. Enjoy.
Life to grow, the creatures you made to let your life show, the flowers and trees that help us to know the heart of love. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and all creation is shouting for joy. Come dance in the forest, come play in the field.
Welcome back on Faith in the World. We are very, very fortunate to have two special guests joining us on the show this morning. Chantel Khan, a community worker who has since the year 2000 been working with Father Kevin Bar, who recently passed away. And Father Kevin Bar, as we all know, has been a champion of the poor. Chantel Khan is currently the executive director of the Social Empowerment Education Program. And we also are going to be talking to the director of the Institute of Mission and Research of the Pacific Theological College, Aisake Casimira, who will now pay tribute to the late Father Kevin Bar.
I was thinking about the words to describe him. How would he want to be remembered? One of it is humility. I think it was Kasi in his eulogy had said that Father Bar was very prolific in his writing. You know, Chevalier Hostel, Chevalier Farm, he started it. But when you got to know him as a person, he never used the word I. He never said, I did that, or I was the one who was writing this. I would always say to him, man, Father Bar, you have written so many books, like on Mary, hymns and songs, choir, everything on hymns and everything. And he used to just smile and say, yes, it's only for God. You know, it was, I suppose at the time I was thinking it's a very Catholic thing to be doing. Another thing that I remember about Father Bar is the way that he was clergy in the world, Christ in the world. And he was one of the forefront for me, for the clergy, as a priest, almost like getting involved in the messiness of the world. All the things that people have said about him when he worked on poverty. That's one of the things that he was doing, and it was astounding. His voice was very prophetic. He wasn't afraid to link what Jesus said to what was happening in the world and have the right quotations for it. His books on social analysis, on social justice, all speak to that. So he knew the Bible intimately, but he also knew Christ, Jesus Christ. He had books on, Albert Nolan, the things that he said, and it's very social justice oriented. So for me, that prophetic voice of Father Kevin Bar was coming through very strongly. But also linked with that prophetic voice was a stubbornness of Father Bar. And I think that this is something that, people, may tend to gloss over, but it was a humanness of him as well. And he could be quite stubborn to the point of, if he was opposed to you and you said something he didn't like and he was against you, this is a man who will bang the table, like really bang the table to make and you'd be a bit shocked. But for him, that was just making his point, his voice heard. And I think what got him into trouble in the end, or the thing that was very controversial about him that I really have to talk about, is the Langi Langi housing project. We're all being brought up on charges for this. Because over the years, Kevin absolutely believed and he hoped that this would be an example for people to follow, the Langi Langi housing project. And it would be remiss if I did not say that in the meantime, what he had a lot of hope and trust in was the Prime Minister. He knew that the Prime Minister, Frank Bainimarama, greatly supported the housing project. And it may have been that, you have a government that's releasing a huge amount of money, millions of dollars, to a housing project, maybe to an organization that has not yet been registered. But for Father Bar, it was about making sure the building was done, up and running. Even though our friendship, he and I's, eventually ended, just before his death last year. I was really touched that, in his funeral, leading up to his funeral, I was touched enough to see again the humanness of Father Bar, flawed but perfect. And, like I was saying before, Mother Teresa said, in the end, it has nothing to do with you. It was always between you and God in the end. And for me, Kevin Bar's life exemplified perfection and imperfection, and for that I will always be grateful. Is very important for us as Christians, for us as Catholics. And I think that, His grace exemplifies this right now, not to be afraid to stand up for what we believe in, especially if it goes against the grain, to know that social justice is doing Christ's work and Christ's work in action. Even when I'm saying it, I feel a little bit, unqualified to say it, but, us Catholics, we have an obligation to social justice. And we have many people around us who will help us get there. Father Kevin Bar has done his part and he's gone home. We have his grace. We have many other people in the clergy who are there ready. And, we've known them through our line of work, through people like Aisake Casimira, Sister Frances MEO. These are Catholics who have led the way and continue to do so. And we all will do so in the memory of someone like Father Bar.
Father Kevin Bar, a life broken for many. The future of our country belongs to those who know that the transformation of our country is about the courage, articulation, and the breaking in of a new story. One that will offer our people a new dawn of life and meaning that most of us could never imagine. This shift will be brought about by those who can articulate a most meaningful story that the rest of us can be a part. If Jesus as a story was considered radical in his time, Father Bar was as well, both in the way he lived his life and in the witness of his work with the poor. If Jesus ushered in a new story for what it meant to be truly human, Father Bar reminded us of Jesus' vision of humanity. And he said, we are urged to seek out the poor, the oppressed, and those in any kind of need, and with them struggle for justice and reconciliation. He lived what he professed. He was a founder of initiatives, a prolific writer who had published more than 15 titles, declined an honorary doctorate, a lecturer at both the Pacific Regional Seminary and the Pacific Theological College, a guest speaker in many conferences both here and abroad, a board member of some civil society organizations, a lover of music, humor, laughter, and a decent meal with wine or beer. A man who deeply trusted life as a tale to be celebrated. He took life seriously as not to miss the opportunities that might come his way, and value its lightest moments so as to celebrate its moments of grace and humorous ironies. He was a deeply gracious man, loved by those who knew him, disliked by some, and admired by many.